Okay, hi again, welcome back to my channel. We are in part 4. Will be episode 1. We're gonna first cut some strings, and then we're gonna do the bottom. In this particular video, I am just showing you how I tied and cut the other side, and we're just gonna do the same thing on this side. So just flip your whole thing upside down. Make sure that your top and bottom strings are out of the way so you don't accidentally cut any. I'll start with the red. So go ahead and separate the strings. You have two sides. You did 3 leaves on one side and 3 leaves on the other. So we're just gonna take now, oh, and you have one leftover string that we didn't do anything with. You're gonna be free to cut that off now. I just flipped it up, I'll cut it when I cut the rest. And we're just gonna take the 2 strings and tie them together. Just go right in line. Start with the top and go all the way down to the bottom. Just tying them together. This will be how the whole thing will be nice and secure and won't have any frayed edges or anything like that. So there's 2 third strings. These are the 4th ones. Five 5th ones. And 6. And the 2 on either side that are hanging like that, I'm not gonna tie those. I'm just gonna tighten them and cut them and burn them with my lighter, because it'll keep the shape of the leaves if you just leave them like that. All right, so now I'm gonna cut it. I said in another video that I don't like to do cuts until I'm at the very end, but I do know that I am done with the 2 sides, so I'm gonna just cut them and get these strings out of my way. If you're certain that you're happy with your design, go ahead and cut them. But if you're not, I would wait. And we're just gonna take our lighter and melt it together. Okay, that should do it for the red part. Just gonna make sure so I have a nice smooth little edge there. Okay, now the best way to do the same thing for the black, you have leaves on the top black layer. Leave it upside down and then just pin back the top layer, the red leaves, so you can tie them from the back. It'll be much easier to do it this way, in my opinion. It's just the same thing, but this time just tie all of the leaves going up because we don't have any left over. And we're just gonna tie another 2. 3. 4, and 5, because we ended on either side with the 5 string leaf. So you should have 5 knots, and you can just cut those and burn them. You might have to unpin, yeah, so you can get a good angle. Trying to make sure that everything I'm doing is visible on the camera. It's a little tricky. Okay, and then you can just melt those strings together. And so that's good. And that's that for that. Now I have 3 leftover strings on the top and bottom of the snakes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut those too. I know I won't use those for anything. Just showing you that there's 3 there. If you don't have 3, you mess something up. So don't cut it and go back and fix and try to figure out what you did. Okay, and you're just gonna bend it down and carefully take your lighter. I just use my finger. My fingers are a little bit calloused from all of this. It's funny. All right, so after that, now you've cut off the sides. Looks pretty, yay. We're gonna go ahead and start with the bottom. Okay, I'm showing you the leftover red strings from the wrap. Do not cut those. We will be using those. Once we make the top pendant part, that's what we're gonna tie it to. It's kind of hard to explain, but it'll make sense once you see it, hopefully. This is what you should have at this stage. All that's left to do is design the bottom and then the top, and then turn it into a pendant. If you've been following my social media, you've already seen what the pendant looks like. All right, so I'm gonna take the second string. Oh, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that row has 2 at the end. Tie a 1, 2 knot, so now you have 1 string, and knot it into the red strings. Same thing for the left. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you'll have 2 left over together. Just take 1 and tie a knot around the other one, so you're only having 1 string, and it fills the gap a little bit, and then tie onto the red. and then tie those two black ends together. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another row with black. I'm gonna, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take the last string and make another row with red. I've done so many designs like this and I do them all just slightly differently, so I didn't remember that I had done that. Okay. But hopefully you can see what I did. For me, learning macrame was all much more about visual than words. I would oftentimes watch the tutorials with the sound off and just follow along. All right, so we're just gonna leave that like that for now. And because I want to make another row, so I have another 3 black to make a bead with. I guess I'm going ahead and tying that together. I don't usually do that, but the same way you would tie it for a bead. Okay, so the first string we're going to leave off because it's too short to work with at this point, and honestly we just don't need it. And I'm going to take, so now the second black string, I'm going to pull those two together. And with the third, I'm tying a knot around the 2 gathered. And I'm going to do the same thing once I get to the end of the black. I'm going to take those 2 strings and separate them and tie a knot so I have 1 string. Again, what that does is fills the little gap between the black and the red. Okay, and the same thing, leave the first one off, start with the second one, tie a knot with the third string. These are the black ones I'm only counting. Hold those together, tie a knot with the next string over, all the way down. And take those 2 strings, separate them, use one to tie a knot around the other. It doesn't really matter like which string. Usually I tend to take the shorter one to use to tie the knot, but we're so close to the end, it doesn't really matter. If you've noticed, I have a lot of extra strings. I am of the mind that I'd rather have too much string than not enough string, so I usually tend to cut my strings quite long. But I always save all my ends, and in hopes of one day using them for projects. I'm sure many of you do that too. I have bags and bags of cut strings. All right, so I'm gonna add another silver bead, a 3rd silver bead to the bottom here. So that will be 3 in total, 3 silver beads going down in the line. And we just doo-doo. Tying knots. Hi, kitty. My kitty's here. Now, for now, I think I'm done. But later in the last video, I'm gonna go back and tie one more row. Oh no, wait, what am I doing? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got confused again. Okay, so take the black, make a row. Same thing, gather those two. We have two strings gathered together from the black. And just continue down. There shouldn't be a gap now at this point between the red because of the way that I just did that, as you can see. But I will, at the end of the red, take those two strings and separate them like we did before, tying one string around the other. Oh, okay, so 4 knots. It's a bigger gap than I realized. So do a 1-2 knot and then do 1 knot out, 1 knot in. What are you doing, kitty? She's rolling on my stuff. Okay, sorry for the confusion. I thought I was at a different spot. Like I said before, I'm doing voiceovers for these videos because I can't really work and try to explain what it is I'm doing. Plus, I usually have the TV or music or something on. All right, so 1-2 knot, take those two, gather them together, and continue down the row. So what I was saying before, though, while you're doing this is at the very bottom, once I'm done with this, I leave it, but later I go back and I decide to do one more black row, but just with the ones that are on the bottom. You'll see that in the video. I believe I'm making 3 of these ending final videos. I believe it's in the 3rd one. I do that. Sometimes you think that, oh, this is good enough, and then you're like, oh, no, I think one more row would look better, and that's why I cannot emphasize enough. Just do not make cuts until you are really, really sure that you're happy with your design. It will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so we're at the bottom. So yeah, so I left it like this for now, and then I went back, and those, let's see, 1, 2, 4 or 5 black strings at the bottom around the last bead. I make one more row on each side, but like I said, again, you'll see that at another time. Okay, so that's all I planned really on doing for the bottom. Just to try to keep it semi-simple for you guys. If this is your first time trying to make something like this. And next is the top, which is a little more difficult because we're gonna have to make a tail. And the tail is what will connect to the back to make this a pendant. I really do hope that you've enjoyed and followed along with these videos. There are 2 more coming up, to finish it off. And like I said, if you followed on my social media, you would have already seen what it looks like. Okay, see you soon.